music, and I'm not niche for saying that. I know that. No, that doesn't feel right. So Harry is using. Hello, all. I'm Cass. This is Personality Hive. Let's work from home today. I want to start off, obviously, again with we got to take a look at our weather because it has been all over the place as of the last few weeks. I was on spring break a week and a half ago. Granted, I was in the Outer Banks. It was about 70 every day, humid, sunny, a little bit of rain, sun's out, guns out. Apparently, they're getting the same weather up here. And then I come back home, windows down, 70-degree day. Next day, beautiful 70-degree day. I went for a drive with my windows down. It was beautiful, luxurious. Tell me why I get up for work at 6:30 the next morning. Okay, it's cold. All right, the sun's down. All right, it's gonna be cold. Tell me why I'm 3 hours in my shift and it's snowing outside. Full chunky flakes of snow. I was sickened. Anyway, it was sickening. So today we had a 30-degree Fahrenheit day. It was quite nipply out. Started off a little wet, still rainy on and off out. Got to class, forgot my coat. I will never make that decision again.
I'm Tonka Jahari, but I would never order a whole pizza for myself. I mean, I'll take it, but
It sucked. And then got home, made lunch, got ready for work, left the house. It was still about like 30 or so degrees, but at least the sun was out, so it didn't feel as bad. The wind wasn't as like biting. But the sun makes all the difference. We're supposed to get some nicer temperatures coming up next week. Looks like Friday we're hitting 60s, 60s and 70s this weekend, and then into like 50s consistently next week. So hoping to start actually feeling spring come. Getting hopeful. I know we're all sitting eagerly waiting. The media that we are going to be looking at this week, about a week late from its release, but we are going to be looking at Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally by Harry Styles. And I know you're as excited as I am. Evil twin. Anyway, so yes, we're gonna be looking at Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally, and this was an album I have to start off on the record. I am not the biggest Harry fan, and not in that I'm not a Harry Styles fan, as in there are Harry Styles super fans. I'm a Harry Styles fan. I am not a super fan. I am not a crazy massive crazy go wild, go to the tour, spend $4,000 on a ticket kind of fan. Do I love Harry Styles? Yes. Did I grow up like liking One Direction and everything? No. And I think that's the difference of me and my peers in that atmosphere. Not to say I don't love Harry Styles, but I wasn't as like itching, scratching at the walls, waiting for this album to come out as other people in my life. This album was so fun. Like that's like the best first descriptor I can give for it. It was so much fun. And I am the kind of person I will never enjoy a song or an album or just listening to any music on my first listen through because I don't like not knowing what I'm listening to. And obviously listening to a brand new album, I'm not going to like it then by that standard. But it took me a few listens to wiggle into it. And obviously with Aperture coming out as the single a few weeks before, that definitely helped me like meld into the vibe of it. Like we had it playing when we were down the Outer Banks for spring break. But I finally had to like sit down after like subconsciously like messaging myself to like enjoy it in the back of my mind by like playing it in the background. Um but yeah, I finally like sat down one night, went through each song like one by one and like dissected them a little bit, like try to get invested in them, research them. And I love this album. I can say that hands down. I love this album. I know it wasn't exactly what everyone was hopeful for or expecting from Harry, but I think that's exactly the fun of it. I love the unexpected from an artist. I love changing up the vibe. I guess I'm just gonna start and go through how I felt about each song in the album and like what I took from it. So aperture refers to the adjustable opening in a camera lens that controls how much light enters. So metaphorically, we're seeing this. Harry is using this definition and this concept to represent how much he's opening up to everyone. Because he kind of like not off the face of the earth, but he wasn't quite like present and around for a hot minute prior to releasing this album. Um, And so I think it was definitely like it took a while for him to decide how much he was going to let us in back into there. And it just the opening up of that camera lens, it's a symbolization for how much you're opening yourself up to life, embracing vulnerability, and how much light you want to allow both in and out from yourself. Using this word aperture, it is a conscious decision to decide where you want to be more open or more closed off to positive and or negative experiences. I love a little like boom, 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 like the instrumentals of the video and like just the sound effects of the video, like obviously going into the music. And I'm not niche for saying that. I know that. And I can still enjoy it at the same time. So it starts off with that like phone line. He's with like the hotel reception, and then it just goes right into like the bum, 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 bum of the song. Peak, consistent, lingering. I loved it. We see Harry going down to this empty hotel reception, this empty lobby, and all we see is this like little figure kind of in the background. It's not startling to Harry. Like it seems like familiar to him. And so it's like this like weird following moment, and then all of a sudden, he's rushing after Harry. And it also seems like this wasn't either a startling act. This was preparation. He knew that this was going to come. These fighting features, and then Harry's being lifted and being spun, and it becomes this choreographed dance, like full choreographed dance between the two of them, like fighting and back and forth. Um, and you can clearly see again the familiarity, and they've done this dance a million times. They've gone about one another like this a million times. This is not foreign to either one of them. Because then it goes right back to the lobby, and things just go off as normal. The figure walks off with his bag. Harry goes back up to the desk, not like startled by any of this. It's expected, it's routine. So the way that I saw this, also looking back to our definition of aperture, is that it is like the battle that perhaps Harry feels like he's going through in like these parasocial relationships, that him as not only a celebrity that has been in the spotlight for most of his conscious, if not somewhat adult life, you have to balance to like go back and forth of that, of like how much are you letting these people in, and also like the almost choreographed dance of like putting on a face and putting on a personality and showing that to whoever they might want. So yeah, the American Girls music video, I love the song, please do not get me wrong, but the music video itself was just nothing special to me. Maybe like I'm gonna give it another watch, but it just didn't stand out all that much as anything like too spectacular. But first of all, why he dressed like a role model in that opening scene? He got that little baby tee, he got that little tote bag. What are you talking about? That's my man. Anyway, it's just the flashes between like the augmented sets and the authentic sets, and Harry jumping in and out of these characters they're showing, and I don't know if it's meant to be like what is being shown on screen and blah blah blah. I don't know. It just wasn't spectacular in my eyes. It just felt like it was kind of like okay. But beyond that, Harry himself, I know that he mentioned it in the interview with Zane Lowe, which we will get into that later. But he does say specifically this is a lonely song. He said it was inspired by watching three of his closest friends go off and get married, and he was trying to convince himself of this idea. He's like, well, they're doing that, so like I'm the one who's actually gonna have fun. I get to be single and I'm not tied down. I get to these things, but it's also about the one of recognizing the magic that he's seeing his friends experience in having found a person like that, and the risk that you're putting into it, and wanting to find that something special that these people are finding, and he just hasn't quite gotten there yet. Okay, and then we go into Ready Steady Go, next in the album. It was bumpy, it was fun, it was giving me like the is it Lady Gaga, like club, club, another club, no sleep, another club, get on the bus, get on the plane, no sleep.
No sleep. Bus. Club. Another club. Another club. Plane. Next place. No sleep.
Who's Leon? They're talking about Leon in the song. I don't really know who Leon was supposed to be. Sorry, Leon. Sorry, Harry. I'm not sure. And it was like this, just showing like a back and forth, like a relationship of using one another. And it's like, we shouldn't do this, but it's so much fun, and we're going to get something from it. I don't know. Not a crazy standout song to me, but like it was still fun. So then we're on to Are You Listening Yet? This came across to me as a song talking about like a surface level satisfaction. Like, what do you have in your own life when you have run yourself entirely dry? Yeah, like the lyric, if you must join a movement, make sure there's dancing. I was seeing it as like there's this guilty subconscious that's following you. It's telling you you need to know what's right or wrong. You know what's right or wrong, but are you gonna pick what's right or are you gonna pick what's wrong? What's gonna benefit you more rather than the ethics behind it? I don't know. And I liked how it was built into intensity, like all the way up to the end, and that is just like the overthinking, that repetitive, like going crazy, driving yourself mad overthinking process. Okay, and then we go into Taste Back, which I have to say has so far been my favorite song on the album. It's just been the one that's really stuck with me the most, and like I keep like finding myself putting that one on first when I throw on the album. It's like this ex relationship, and it's the back and forth of wanting to move on and separating yourself from another person who you had this like soul tie with, like trying to cut that off, but you always know that there is a possibility to come back and that you can go back for comfort and you can go back for relief and you can go back for validity or attention, and how it has to be so lonely throwing yourself into this cycle because you know that you yourself obviously are doing it, but also knowing that this person, this former partner, this former friend, that's XYZ, is also doing these things. And it's like either you know that you can do it and you're not going there, or they know they can do it and they are going there. What's the difference between you and them? What's stopping you? What's letting them? I don't know. I just really found myself like settling with that song and really enjoying that. And then onto The Waiting Game. The Waiting Game was another one that really stuck with me, another one of my favorites. The Waiting Game is about this willingness to settle for less than what you deserve and what you are worthy of. It is knowing that these things and these people in your life and these actions in your life are adding up to nothing, and you're to the point where you're messing with what you will let your master design and your master plan and your desires look like and let them be. If you want to keep up these big goals of what you want and what you deserve, you're gonna have to wait a lot longer. You're gonna have to wait for either this person to figure their things out and to get to the point that you need them to be at, or you have to let them go and you have to start from scratch and you have to find something better. And maybe there's that excitement in finding something better, but there's also this fear of I am starting from scratch. There's no familiarity, there's no comfort, there's no understanding. I have to go from the get go. I don't want to do that when I can just throw some clay on this person and mold them around this way and mold this around that way, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. No. And that's The Waiting Game. On to season 2, Weight Loss. One of my friends mentioned that this song felt like One Direction, so it felt like a lot more familiar to her, and she clung onto it very early on to listening to it. You want a piece or you want nothing at all. You don't have the capacity to give a full commitment. You are going to use and you are going to take, and if it has to be the entire pie or nothing but, you are going to go with nothing but, because taking the whole pie will upset your tummy. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there is no care in beyond using said person in this song, in this situation. You're holding out and you're holding out, but they're never going to take the entirety of you. We move on to Coming Up Roses next. This is what he mentions in his interview with Zane Lowe, where he tried to start out this song by writing a Christmas song. So the opening lyric, tell me your fears, I've turned back the clocks, it's that time of year. And then going into, if we stayed the course, we could get it right, but I'm not devoid of an appetite. So he was like, it very quickly became like a song that just wrote itself. It was obviously no longer a Christmas song, but it still like kept that intro. It's the wanting to validate bad desires, and that if you keep going at it and keep hitting the same nail on the head, it's gonna work this time. It's gonna stick that time. It's hey, I need to start using quotation marks. It's only me and you. Keep these things a secret. No one else needs to know about us. Girl, what am I writing? Like, and then there's a line like, or am I backseating your life, judging while you drive? It's feeling again like The Waiting Game of knowing that you're just taking up time and you're a time waster, just filling the space until the next best thing gets there. Okay, and then we have Pop next, which I didn't like it.
I did not care for The Godfather.
I'm sorry, it didn't stand out to me. And it's a fun song, I'm not gonna lie. It feels like it was going to come on after Ariana Grande in 2014 on the radio. I'm sorry. Um, But you know what? I guess like that is the whole point of the song. It's at the boom boom boom, and it's at the and then it's at the. It just wasn't anything special to me. I'm gonna move on. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Next is Dance No More. Fun. Bass right off the intro got me moving, got me wanting to groove. I was sitting in my room listening to it by myself, and I'm getting like the frat flick wants to come out of me. And this is like DJs don't dance anymore. I don't listen to it. DJs don't dance no more. These artists are not connecting with the music they're putting out, and it's the same semblance in the way that Harry waited so long to put out this album because he wasn't going to put out art he didn't care for and put out a tour that he didn't care to be on and perform just for the sake of performance and not for the sake of the art behind it. The line, there's no difference between the tears and the sweat, like, you can't tell nowadays what is a genuine showcase of art and passion and what's just a catalog song thrown on the radio. And not that there is anything wrong with putting out art like that. The industry is a business after all, but there's something that just it's being so stripped down, and I feel like the passion's being taken away from it. Art is being put out for results and not for passion. Again, it's giving
Club, another club, another.
Then we go into Paint by Numbers. Paint by Numbers, I did really, really enjoy this song. I'm supposed to paint by the numbers, follow the lines, because it still be original and still be passionate, but you can't let the colors run out of the lines, and you can't break free of the mold that's in there. Like, it was just, it felt like being trapped within, like, what is going to make you happy and what's going to make your fans happy and what's going to make the industry happy and what's going to make your family happy and who's are you going to be authentic to and who do you want to, like, honor in doing this art. And I think also, like, saying, like, paint by numbers, and they're talking about, like, kids with water guns, watching them run, watching them have fun. So many things that should be created out of love and passion and out of innocence are being tarnished by having to be one or the other, having to be for you or be for them. It's hard to know when you can pick for you and when you pick for them. And then Carla's song, unfortunately, I didn't really write anything about that. I think one, it was like 2 a.m. by the time I got the Carla song, and I was a little burnt out of listening to it. I don't know. I think it's just a song of like waiting for things to be better again. A theme that we've felt a lot, obviously, throughout the entirety of this album. Now that I've gone through each of the songs, I want to talk about a little bit of what I've seen a lot of people talk about, like the inspiration, or at least like what they are assuming the inspiration and the, you know, connections have been to this album. I watched a video from the Needle Drop over here on YouTube, and I'll link him in the description below because I really enjoyed his video. He was blatantly honest on his opinions on the album, and as a fan, I appreciate that. He said a lot that it was very reminiscent of LCD Sound System and Vampire Weekend, and especially on the way that Harry used his voice in this album. And Vampire Weekend, I know vaguely. LCD Sound System is not an artist that I'm too familiar with, so I am gonna try to look into them a little bit more after this album, off of how much I enjoyed Kiss All the Time. But the Needle Drop mentions that Harry almost like limited his own vocal abilities to come across in the same style as Ezra Cohen, who's the lead singer of Vampire Weekend. But he also comments specifically, this just stuck out to me, how the album almost felt like the rehearsal track or like the first edition or unfinished version, like a synth focused Vampire Weekend song, like stripped down before they add anything else into it. Yeah, circling back to what I said earlier, I'm not the craziest Harry fan. Like, I love Harry Styles, but I'm not like crazy about Harry Styles. So I talked to two of my friends. Shout out to Chloe and Maddie. She said it's such a dance album, and I needed that personally, which I understand that, and that's what I want to get into as well. Where I see so many people get frustrated with when an album like this comes out. Yes, music is for everyone, but not all music is for every single person. So like right now, Chloe's loving this album. It's gonna make a lot of sense to her. It's gonna feel right to her. It's gonna be fun for her. And then in 2 weeks, maybe she's gonna get in a down mood. It's not gonna be the right thing for her. And then it's gonna be the best album for so and so down the street. You know, like it's never going to be a fluid thing. But music is meant to be there for a specific reason. And we have certain foods on the food pyramid. You eat this when you need this out of like sustenance, and you eat this when you need this feeling, or this when you're lacking this. Everything is there for a curated reason. It's not always going to work all of the time. So I get frustrated when I see fans, even just people in general bashing on an album when an artist is jumping a little bit out of their style, or just maybe stepping away from an art they've identified with or a style they're known for. Because art is not only allowed to, but supposed to be fluid and to change. And in the long run, art is for the artist. Art is for the person putting it out there who can take what you need from it. But in the end, art is always going to be for who sat down and created it. Now that I'm off my show horse about that, I want to go back to what my friend Maddie said. Maddie said she really thinks it's one of his best albums to date, even better than Harry's House, and that it's fun and whimsical, and you can tell that he had fun with the sound of the whole album. Then she does comment that lyrically it's not incredibly the best, but sonically and in the vibes of everything else, like, it really took the park. And I understand where that is where it separates itself from Harry's House and Fine Line, which are definitely more lyric focused and lyric heavy albums. But also, like, let the man have fun and have a fun boppy album, you know? Something also that she mentioned to me is that it was a really good album to run to. Um, which he was like, I don't like normally get that vibe from him, but also like he was doing marathons all over the world during his hiatus of like not being in the public eye. So I guess that kind of makes sense. If that's like, you know, like that's the kind of mood he was in, that's what he had to be listening to get to that place. So, you know, it all translates somewhere. Just fun and whimsical during a time where life is not whimsical. Hashtag bring back whimsy 2026. And I'm gonna run with that. Yeah, because hashtag bring back whimsy 2026. Something that one of my friends recommended to me was Zane Lowe's interview, which is he does these through Apple Music. I didn't know this is like a big thing. This is the first that I've heard of it, but I'm really excited to watch more of them. But she recommended to me Zane Lowe's interview with Harry because I wanted to make sure that I was appreciative enough in talking about it as not a diehard Harry Styles fan. For one, I want to say that I adored the host that Zane Lowe was in this interview, and I loved the way that he led it because it was very much interviewee led. It wasn't like firm, like that we're going from this section to this section and here to here, and you're gonna talk about this here. It was just it was a conversation. I almost felt intrusive watching this interview. I felt like I was watching two friends hang out, and especially from the format of it, like I'm sitting at the bar of a restaurant, just two guys having a conversation. And I know that they have a past with another, like they've known each other in other contexts. So it was just so it felt very peaceful to watch. It came on and I was sitting there like waiting for the interview to start, and then I was like, oh, this is the interview. Like we're not going anywhere more formal than this, and it was fantastic. It felt very comfortable to watch. A quote that really stuck with me from Harry himself in the interview was, "Not everything has to last forever in order for it to be special." And this was not only him talking about the grief that he was experiencing in losing a very close friend of his for within the last 2 years, but also talking about losing his passion for art and his passion for touring and his passion for performance and his fans. Because then also he goes into it talking about how longevity is not a translation for success. And that goes into like relationships and also in work and what you do with your life. Harry made it very clear that he wrote this album for himself. He wrote it because he had a desire to come back to touring and a desire to come back to performing and sharing things with his friends and his fans. He didn't want to release this and create not this any album. He didn't want to create any album because it wouldn't have been this. If he just went out there and thought, you know, it's been however many years since Harry's House came out, I got to put something out there, I have to make them happy, and just created some slop to put out on the internet to share out and go and tour it, it wouldn't be what Kiss All the Time Disco Occasionally is. It would not have the potential of that because this was orchestrated and built off the absence of passion, in the absence of having a direction. And you can't force art to happen. You can't force enjoyment and passion to be there. He says specifically, I missed it because I loved it, in relation to him talking about touring and not wanting to burn himself out by continuously going on these shows and touring just because it was going to make someone happy somewhere else. It wasn't going to make him happy. He wasn't missing having to do it. He was missing getting to do it. He wanted it to be fresh excitement to share and for sharing this project to feel organic. And forcing yourself to create something is never going to feel organic like that. I would really recommend, again, I'm going to link it below, the Needle Drops. So they did about this album, and I will also link Zane Lowe's interview with Harry Styles. I'll look at some similar content to kind of fill that void that felt a little missing for me, and I've heard like from friends of mine after this album. I want to recommend The Crux by Joe. I could feel the resemblance between that album and this album, Kiss All the Time, being like a comeback album of sorts, and not that Joe had waited that much longer or waited that long before releasing his album, and obviously we just saw him in Stranger Things in the last couple of months, but I'm seeing it more in the stem after him releasing The End of Beginning, and not only that, End of Beginning blowing up and everyone only knowing him for that song, and in the same way of Harry not wanting to tour and not wanting to release music without it being fully out of passion for him, in that artists are only sometimes understood in one niche or as one character, as a one-trick pony. They want to break out of that and be recognized for something else, and it is so hard to do that. And I feel like Joe is really beginning to do that for himself in his work, and I have been adoring it. Gap to Smile was an album or a song that I really liked from this. Charlie's Garden, that's so fun. And then just Basic being basic, because I'm gonna be basic about it. I love that song. Next album, an album that I have not listened to in full, and I'm not a crazy fan of the artist currently, but back in the day used to be my shit, is Everyone's a Star by 5 Seconds of Summer. I have not listened to the entirety of Everyone's a Star, but I love 5 Seconds of Summer. I was a 5 Seconds of Summer girl opposed to a One Direction girl. 5 Seconds of Summer has always been more in the punky side of the whole boy band atmosphere, so that wasn't like that crazy to me. But I just saw similarities in like the feelings of this album and Kiss All the Time, of like it's like that adapted boy band pipeline, like trying to like show maturity but also still like know what you're recognized for. And then next I want to recommend Virgin by Lorde, an album that came out this summer. I fell in love with it. I adore this album. And I felt that they almost feel like sister albums to me, in a way that they were both highly awaited albums or just releases from the artist respectfully, and that they were kind of like on a hiatus and a little hidden out for a little bit, and then this spectacular, emotional, vibrational album pops out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere, but you know what I mean. You can see all of the work and all of the passion they built up and used this time for themselves to go and share with the world, and I love it. Now that we've looked at similar content separately, I want to go into my mini playlist. The song that I have on there is Young Blood by 5 Seconds of Summer. It is what pop sounded like to me immediately. They sound the same. It's the same like irresistible beat and lyrics, and it's similar to the relationships I feel like that are consistently like talked about and visited in Kiss All the Time, like in Ready Steady Go or in Taste Back. So I feel like if those songs resonated with you, I think you'll really enjoy Young Blood. And it's not like an underground song, I know that, but just want to recommend that. Next, I want to talk about Girls by the 1975. I love the 1975. I am unashamedly a 1975 fan, a Maddie Healy fan. I will unfortunately defend that man within reason. But it's that fun, dancey disco song. But what I love about the 1975, and in Girls obviously specifically, Maddie never hides what he's trying to say either. If you liked the storytelling in Kiss All the Time, I think you will really love Girls, and more especially, I think you should just enjoy more of the 1975, because they have that synthy beat that Kiss All the Time was kind of getting towards. Next song is Not Like That Anymore from Lola Young from her new album Only For Myself. This was like not only a song, but an album that friend Elena recommended to me, and I am falling in love with the album, getting there slowly, listening through it all. Penny Out of Nothing is another song that I really enjoy from that album, but Not Like That Anymore. It still has that like wind around vibe. It keeps you moving throughout the whole song. It all flows through, but it's a little more like in your face about what she's talking about, and it's not as like poetically hidden as Harry's doing in his songs and in his past albums. It's raunchy and it's fun, and I really think you'll love it. Then Let's Dance by David Bowie. Because, like, come on, you cannot listen to Let's Dance by David Bowie and not have to make, like, a tissue and put a little boogie in it. It's just such a fun song, and it clearly you can feel, like, the inspiration for Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally from this song. Just, like, it keeps you moving, it gets you on the dance floor, it gets a groove in your step. last song on the mini playlist this week is Body Snatchers from Radiohead. And I wanted to throw in either Radiohead or Vampire Weekend song on here just because I've been seeing so much about how they seem to influence this album. Um, and Body Snatchers is not as like synthy as Kiss All the Time, but the lyrics, like there's a lyric in Body Snatchers, you killed the sound, removed the backbone, a pale imitation with the edges sawn off. Like it was lyrics like that that I was like, it felt very similar to Harry's writing style in Kiss All the Time. So yeah, so I don't feel like I nailed the playlist as much as I did last week on this one, and I'm gonna keep trying to get better. And I think it's just that Kiss at the Time was a little bit of an unfamiliar feeling to me, other than 75. Of course, gonna link this playlist down below. Gonna link the videos that I referred to in here, and yeah, I loved Kiss All the Time. Disco Occasionally. It was such a fun album, and it's definitely going to be laced throughout a bunch of my playlists in the next couple of months. It's always going to be one that I know I can come back to, throw on the album, and not have to skip through any of the songs, regardless of how I felt very passionately about some versus others. I love this album. I am so happy to see Harry back out. I cannot wait, even though I'm not going to the tour, I cannot wait to see videos and to see just the way that he puts himself out there and what songs he's going to come back to. And I know how happy this album made my peers and made my friends for seeing him back out there. But yeah, I was very happy to finally do an album review. Felt a little bit easier to do than a book review for me, but I would love to see recommendations of what anyone else would like to see me cover, and if there's anything new that I should try and fit in my schedule. Daisy Jones and the Six was something old to me. This album was brand new, so that was really fun to look at with fresh eyes. But yeah, I would love some recommendations of what to look at next, but it looks like we can clock out for the day. I'll see you guys next Sunday.